Rashad Tillman, and I'm a club alumni at the Pasadena Boys and Girls Club, where a great futures start here.
Rashad Tillman, I really appreciate you coming over tonight to just kind of talk about the club, talk about yourself, and talk about your experience here at the Boys and Girls Clubs. Before we get into that, if you can just let everyone know what your experience growing up in Pasadena is all about, and give us a quick summary of your experience, and we'll definitely head over to talk about the Boys and Girls Club experience. So
Sure. Well, fortunately, I was born at Kaiser Sunset in Hollywood, and I was raised here in Pasadena. I went through K through 12 in the Pasadena Unified School District, so I'm definitely familiar with the area.
And what schools did you attend at the Pasadena Unified School District?
Well, for elementary school, I attended Burbank Elementary School.
Okay.
I attended Charles Elliott Middle School, and I attended John Muir High School.
Oh, wow. Another fellow alumni at John Muir myself.
Yes.
3.
Go Mustangs.
So while attending the school, elementary school, middle school, high school, it sounds like you spent some of your time here at the Boys and Girls Clubs.
For sure.
Here in Pasadena, Mackenzie Scott branch, and a couple of times at Slavic branch, or the site in East Pasadena.
Correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience at the club and the people you've met, the friends, people, mentors that kind of help shape who you are today,
For sure.
And so forth?
For sure. So some of my best memories were actually at the Boys and Girls Club as a kid. Some of the things that I do remember are just kind of some of those simple things that kind of just stick with you. Being able to create lanyards and use your creativity inside of the art room. Getting Jell-O, with the little, whipped cream on top, and playing basketball and all that kind of stuff. And the computer labs are definitely like a good step up for what I ended up doing ultimately with my career. So.
First of all, thank you for sharing that wonderful experience. The computer labs, the Boys and Girls Club, we were the history of the club.
Right.
We were one of the first clubs to offer computer programming back in the early 80s, in its infancy. And we actually had a mobile van driving around to different campuses.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah. So and we were one of the first clubs to have actually computer labs for Boys and Girls Club. So it sounds like you were a part.
Yes.
You've learned some wonderful opportunities in the computer lab, right?
Definitely.
Maybe you can let us know some of your memories in the computer lab and what you worked on.
For sure. I'll try to do my best. So as far as what I remember in the computer lab, of course it was like an instructional setting where we basically had instructor making you do homework and do various little programs and what have you. And I think at the time we had like Apple II computers.
Wow.
So it was definitely computers, IT, all that kind of good stuff was at its infancy, at the time. And I just remember having a whole lot of fun being able to do some small little programs, which in our minds at the time we thought were like video games. We thought we were creating video games at the time, but that's what kind of sparked my interest, so to speak, in computers. So ultimately, who would know that I'd kind of end up there, later on down the line.
Absolutely.
So.
And we'll get to that point where what you're doing now with your career and how it's relating to what you've learned at the Boys and Girls Club years ago.
Exactly.
With our computer labs.
Exactly.
So you're in high school, and you are getting ready to graduate, but 2 years before you graduated from here and get accepted to Long Beach State and attending Long Beach State, you were in a program, a medical-based health administration program.
Yes.
If you can just elaborate, let us know more about that program.
Okay.
And how it's also shaped you to who you are today also.
For sure, not a problem. So my sister at the time was, she's 2 years older than me. She was attending actually a health academy at Blair High School. Unfortunately, Muir didn't have a health academy, but they had an aerospace and business academy, which I was interested in, but I kind of was leaning more towards the healthcare field. Well, anywho, she's the one that basically gave me the information and told me to apply to the USC Tech School pre-med program. And And based upon my grades, I applied and everything and got right in there. And starting in my summer of 11th grade onward until about probably my junior year in college, undergrad, I, literally lived in Trojan Hall at the USC campus, just partaking in a bunch of activities related to the allied health field, pre-med, getting ready for MCAT preparation and all those types of activities.
That's amazing. It sounds very fascinating and interesting.
For sure. So shortly after graduating from the USC program and the Long Beach State program concurrently, I actually had the opportunity to intern at a community hospital in Long Beach. I also had the opportunity to intern as well at a healthcare organization called Pacific Care at the time. It's United Healthcare now. But upon doing so, that internship did not pay. Right. So I was, still kind of a starving student at that time. So I decided to come back to Pasadena, come back to the roots, and start up as a computer lab instructor at the Boys and Girls Club.
So right, I remember when we first received a wonderful grant from the Pasadena Community Foundation, and you were the first computer lab director in our newly built computer lab at the McKinney Scott branch. And maybe you can, yes, unforgettable moment, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can share with us a couple of experiences with the lab, with
right.
the youth, and
right.
and what you saw,
right.
what the differences you saw. It was something that the community, the Boys and Girls Club, didn't have at that time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, some of the experiences that we had there were, just kind of joining hand in hand with the kids, making sure that they, I was kind of meeting their needs in terms of the curriculum, and basically there was something in it for them and for me.
Right.
So me being able to give back my time, having been a Boys and Girls Club kid, and just being able to pass that information on to them was just beyond, there's just too many memories to try to state one in particular. I guess I had a student by the name of Denzel, which was a very awesome experience.
Yeah.
I think that probably would stand out in my mind. And what really stood out about him and about his story to me was the fact that we had some similarities in terms of, being young, having some behavioral issues inside of the classroom setting, and then kind of basically turning that around, channeling that energy, right. And then turning that around into something positive.
Right. So your experience with Boys and Girls Clubs, obviously it was a stepping stone for you to really have an opportunity to gain some technology experience.
Yes.
Working with youth.
Yes.
You found a better opportunity,
yes.
with what you studied for in college.
For sure.
And can you let us know your career experience and
for sure
back then and where it's at right now?
For sure. So my background is in healthcare administration. I minored in biology, and my emphasis in the HCA program at Long Beach was IS, information systems.
Right.
So I say all that to say that my current experience in my job role is working for Kaiser Permanente, information technology.
Right.
And that has just been the Boys and Girls Club basically allowing me to kind of get familiar with computers, and having that initial interest just kind of sparked what now is basically literally my career, where I'm a project manager in various IT projects and programs.
How wonderful. How wonderful. It's kind of like the full circle.
It is.
You got your first experience
it is.
With technology at the Boys and Girls Club.
Exactly.
Computer lab.
Yes.
You had an opportunity to pretty much start from scratch, work at a brand new computer lab.
Exactly.
Boys and Girls Club.
Exactly.
Innovative computer lab at that time.
Exactly.
I think it was back in 2003, I believe.
Exactly.
And now you've taken that experience and you've moved on.
Exactly.
Working now at Kaiser Permanente, doing what you're doing with the IT. For sure.
It's as you just stated, it's full circle. It's the memories here, the positivity. Just as a kid, just being able to kind of give me that, that heads up, and when you get knocked down, just get back up, kind kind of feeling that you wouldn't get from any other experience
Right.
that I had as a youth. So it was, the initial starting ground for, a young man growing up and kind of becoming, someone that, hey, can look you in the eye, do my interviews, do good in school, and that's okay. It's okay to do good in school, and it's okay to be, a sharp young person and come up from any environment and do well.
It sounds like your experience here at the Boys and Girls Club, with, the buildings are wonderful, they're
Yes.
amazing, the tech labs are amazing,
Oh, yeah.
but it sounds like your experience was with the people.
Yes.
Is there any staff members in particular at that time that you remember very fondly?
Oh, yeah.
That you can just think about it as if it was yesterday, this staff member guiding you and mentoring you?
For sure. So probably Joe Ford and Larry.
Larry Cole?
Larry Cole.
Yeah.
Those are probably my most fondest kind of interactions with an adult that was, a younger, older adult,
Right.
so to speak. Someone you could relate to. They weren't as old as your parent,
Right.
but they were, kind of they were, of course, older than your siblings.
Correct.
And they had just like this coldness about them,
Right.
professionalism about them as well, and just someone you could definitely look up to. Everybody could look up to.
Right.
Awesome. They had awesome standards,
Right.
and they kind of let you know when you did wrong and kind of needed to pick up the slack and
Right.
fix your mistakes.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's fascinating because every alumni that I run into,
yeah,
or we run into, that's the same story that they've told is
awesome.
these men were the cornerstones of the club, and a lot of the young men and women who went
Exactly.
through.
Exactly.
Their fondest memory was, they were strong men, they were strong staff, and
For
they
sure.
kept the club going.
For sure.
And they kept a lot of the kids off the streets and safe away from
Exactly.
the bad things that obviously can go on outside of the
Exactly,
club.
exactly, and that's invaluable. That's for any young person. I think that's just one of those things that you kind of take for granted because you're in that moment as a kid,
Right.
but you don't really realize, hey, that you're growing. Your interpersonal skills, everything's growing as you kind of interact with people like that. And so,
Shai, recently you've been so supportive in helping us and Kaiser navigate and become better community partners.
Right.
And I think this year we definitely have a great strength with the Kaiser Permanente and Boys and Girls Club Community Partnership.
Okay.
And we've already done two done-in-a-days these past 2 years.
Right.
Here at the Boys and Girls Club, done-in-a-day facilities,
Okay.
improvement projects, and mentorship with the youth. And
Sure.
what do you think, in your opinion, how this partnership can further strengthen its bond?
Well, I think it's just, especially for the Pasadena community, I think there's no two better brands that could just collaborate on something, to this degree. And what an amazing experience being able to revitalize the garden with some of my coworkers, some of my peers, some of my mentors. And that experience, just being back with the kids and participating in all their activities,
Right.
it was just awesome. Awesome. Got the heart rate up, got some cool positivity, got to hear some new cool words
Right.
that I hadn't heard out there. And I just think that this is just the start. This is just the start of some collaborations. I'd love to see more organizations kind of mimic the setup of Done in a Day, and I'm definitely vying for more business units inside of Kaiser, KPIT, as well as the business side, and possibly eventually the clinical side of Kaiser. Their employees kind of coming into the club and doing the same thing.
Right. Well, great. Well, thank you, Tashana. We appreciate your time.
No problem.
And we're grateful that you're coming back as an alumni, a former youth,
For sure.
community resident here in Pasadena, and giving back in your own way.
For sure.
Thank you so much.
I wouldn't do anything less. Thank
Appreciate
you.
all your time.
Thanks a lot.